It has been said that distance is nothing if one has a motive. 1,500 miles west of Pittsburgh and a mile high sits Denver, Colorado. On what would be a day of firsts, the Steelers were looking for their first win here in 15 years.
Here we go! This pass is caught and that's a touchdown! That's the way to work, come on! He's hit that sack! The Steelers win the football game! Let's go! Come get it, you know what it is!
This one is in the history books.
Here we go!
Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. I'm Missy Matthews. For the second straight week, Justin Fields was QB1 for the Steelers, and the team had to head on the road. In Denver, Fields and the offense finally found the end zone, and the defense continued to dominate. It was a winning recipe to open the season with a 2-0 mark away from home for the first time since 1999. And for more on how the Steelers were able to stack wins, let's send it over to Bob Pompeani, who's standing by with Coach Tomlin. Bob.
Missy, thank you very much. Steelers 2-0 facing a 2-0 team this week. But before we look ahead, let's take a look back with head coach Mike Tomlin. 2-0 on the road. Those road wins are hard to get. You have to be happy with it. Talk about that game, your observations after the fact.
You know, I was highly concerned first and foremost about the environment. I've been in Atlanta a bunch, and particularly in recent years, I've been to Atlanta, and so I knew that Steeler Nation would show in Atlanta. I was highly concerned about the hostility of the environment and our ability to communicate and operate offensively going into Denver. But I thought largely our guys did a nice job of neutralizing that, particularly with our ability to run the ball and kind of control the line of scrimmage and stay on schedule early before we got overwhelmed by our own penalties. It was a major component of that. But I thought our guys responded to the environment relatively well. We did a nice job of minimizing negativity. We were +2 in the turnover game. We're +5 through 2 games in road environments, and that's a good place to be. That's probably the number one reason. If you had to point to a single reason why we're 2-0 with 2 road games, you're +5 regardless of venue. Chances are you're going to be 2-0. So we're maintaining possession of the ball. We're doing a good job there. In the midst of hostile environments, and we're getting the ball some, and I just like that feel, at least initially, of the first 2 weeks.
And the man who's engineering the offense is Justin Fields, and he's a guy who has had a reputation of making some mistakes in that department. What's been the difference with your group here and him in there as a quarterback? He's been smart about how he's done it, and he's delivered some big passes at big critical times.
You know, I never, try to have judgment based on people in their last experience. I know the reputation that you speak of, but he has been very diligent about possessing the ball here and making good and prudent decisions. He realizes that's a cultural thing that we value, and I appreciate him diving into it the way that he has. He's done a great job of taking care of the football and appropriately utilizing quarterback mobility as a weapon as well. Those are 2 areas of the game, and particularly his game, that I've been really pleased with in terms of the growth and the get to know the beginnings of a coach-quarterback relationship.
He had another big run in that 78-yard drive that you guys had where he turned what looked like a negative into a positive of 16 yards. But also, it seems like when he gets rid of the ball quick, he makes really good throws. And there's a stat out there under 2.5 seconds. He's 14 for 14 so far this year in those situations. Have you preached that to him? Is that part of the thing?
Yeah, but I imagine any quarterback you look at, when they get the ball out under 2.5 seconds, they're throwing at a high completion percentage. Number one, because of short routes and there's higher completion percentages for those. But usually when they're making those type of quick decisions, it's because it's zone and it's spaces and there's spots. In man-to-man circumstances, the ball generally doesn't come out as quick. And so although it's an interesting stat, it's probably not saying a whole lot in the coach's world. But I'm appreciative of it, and he's doing a really good job. And it just needs to continue.
I look at George Pickens last week, 2 catches, 29 yards. It doesn't seem that impressive, but he had a touchdown called back and a 51-yarder called back by penalty. That was one of the best throws I've seen. Talk about that relationship, Pickens and Justin Fields. It seems to be evolving every single week.
It really is. And sometimes the impact of the relationship is not reflected in targets or catches or yards, even for that matter. George is the type of guy that dictates a lot of coverage. And oftentimes that means easy throws elsewhere, and that might be a component of the 2.5 seconds that we're talking about. George's the type of guy, if you got him in one-on-one circumstances, chances are defender's in trouble. And so oftentimes there's safety rotation that way or 2-on-1 circumstances, and there's just no stat for that other than natural fluidity of an offense and ball going to other places. And so I've appreciated their roles and how they're coming together, but I also appreciate the fact that Justin is cognizant of the opportunity.
Defensively, biggest play of the game to me was Corey Trice. And I imagine you are very appreciative of a guy who's had so many injuries. He had it in high school, he had it in college, even here. For him to make a play like that, tell us about that play, how it unfolded, and his reaction to that.
You know, just large, even bigger than the play, it's just what we call football justice, you know. This guy's experienced a lot of hardship and challenges. A lot of people do, particularly as it pertains to injury. But we all just respected his level of maturity and commitment in terms of getting back to us. This guy lost his rookie year to a significant injury. Last Sunday was his second game in the National Football League, and he's done anything but behave like that. You know, that play was an awesome play. He was aware. He caught the quarterback in his line of vision. He realized that the action was coming from the other side of the field, and he got some depth and look for work and ran into a nice interception. Things that veteran players do routinely, but just knowing his history and his story, and just he's at the infancy of his playing career, it was a lot to be excited about on that play.
Yeah, it really was, and it was a big play in that game. Coach, when we come back, we'll talk about the next challenge, which is the Los Angeles Chargers coming here 2-0, and they have a different Harbaugh this year. It's not John, it's Jim back in the NFL. We'll talk about that when we continue right here with the Mike Tomlin Show. Missy, back to you.
All right, thanks, Bob. And you are right. Coach Tomlin has gone against John Harbaugh 35 times in his career. As for his brother Jim, who he will face this Sunday, this will be their second meeting in the NFL. Still to come later in the show, the home opener for the Steelers is finally here. To help get you ready, Merrill Hodge fires up the telestrator to break down some film of the Chargers. That and much more when we return.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
When Steelers fans hear the last name Harbaugh, you immediately think of the Ravens. And even though a different Harbaugh will be at Acrisure Stadium on Sunday, the Chargers coaching staff and roster probably makes you think of Baltimore too. For more on this Week 3 matchup, let's send it back over to Bob and Coach. Guys.
Missy, thanks very much. Chargers come in here, and there's some familiar faces that were once part of the Baltimore Raven organization. And, Coach, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. J.K. Dobbins has been unbelievable so far. First Charger ever, and this includes LaDainian Tomlinson with back-to-back 100-yard games to start the season. Gus Edwards, a fullback, and Greg Roman is their offensive coordinator. You know them pretty well, even though they're in different uniforms.
Yeah, no disrespect to J.K. and Gus and what they're doing, but they also got Hurst at tight end, Tomlinson, Bozeman at center. They got a bunch of former Ravens, but the most significant former Raven, without a doubt, is Greg Roman. The architect of what they're doing looks highly familiar because we've competed against it a lot over the years. He's extremely competitive schematically. There's a commitment to running the football and controlling the line of scrimmage that looks eerily familiar. I'd imagine the reason why J.K. is performing at such a high level is because of his history and comfort within those schematics and knowing exactly what Roman wants. They got a new staff, but this is a familiar fight for us, particularly as it pertains to what they do offensively and in their style of play and the architect, Greg Roman.
And the guy who's a quarterback, Justin Herbert, is a guy who's obviously one of the elite guys in the game. This is different with him, though. In 2 games, he's only had 274 yards passing. It's more of a ground game, which I imagine will help him eventually even more. Is that Jim Harbaugh's philosophy?
Make no mistake, he's capable and they are capable. But they have absolutely controlled these last 2 football games in and along the line of scrimmage. And if you're doing that, why absorb any of the risk that's associated with throwing the football? You got to protect the quarterback. You got to get open. Balls can't be tipped and things of that nature. And so it's just a real prudent approach to business. Certainly he's capable. We all know he's elite. Harbs knows he's elite. But they've been whacking guys pretty good, just handing that ball off. And there's no need to move away from that when it's been as effective as it is from a risk management perspective. They were up 20-0 last week in that Carolina game. in the blink of an eye. And I'd imagine if they get up 20-0, we'd see similar things as well. It's our job to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Back to Dobbins for a minute. He's been injured a lot, but in games against you, he's averaged like 6.9. What is it about him as a running back that makes him difficult?
That running quarterback he had in Baltimore had a lot to do with it. When you got quarterback mobility, for instance, and a willingness to run the quarterback, you got to pick your poison. You can't stop everyone. When you're playing Baltimore, Lamar's running ability is a major component of strategic discussions. I'm respectful of Herbert's running ability, but it's not the central component of the discussion the way Lamar is. At times when we played Baltimore, when J.K. was in Baltimore, we'd let J.K. have a day just to make sure Lamar didn't, to be quite honest with you. And so Lamar obviously is a different animal and presents a whole different set of challenges, even though schematics of the offense are very similar. Lamar is different in a lot of discussions.
What does Tom Arth know about Herbert, or what can help you in trying to diagnose him?
To be quite honest with you, I don't know that there's anything that the streets doesn't know. He's very talented. There's not a throw that he can't make. He makes good and fluid decisions. The prudent use of his mobility by design or ad lib is exceptional. He's not instantly a runner when he pulls the ball down. His field vision as he extends plays is a challenge. And so, although I was impressed with some of the things that Tom had to say about him, none of it was earth-shattering if you've been in the stadium with Herbert like we have.
Defensively, they've been very good about not allowing teams to get deep into their red zone. In fact, only 2 offensive plays, I think, in 2 weeks to get there. You got a Bosa, and that's always a challenge. What else about their defense is something you have to be mindful of?
They're edge rushers. I would not allow you to mention Bosa without mentioning Mack. I got respect for both of those gentlemen. They're both game wreckers. It starts there for us. Their edge pressure is elite. They got special players, and they do special things, particularly if you get in one-dimensional moments. And so we better work our tails off to stay out of one-dimensional moments. We can't be as highly penalized as we were a week ago, for example. You're going to be doing more than punting if you get behind the chains versus this group. They're going to try to sack fumble you and do some of the things that a tandem like that does when they wreck games. And so we got to be sharp there. They do a nice job of challenging and mixing things up behind them. Jesse Minter, their coordinator, I've known most of his life. I used to work for his dad at the University of Cincinnati when he was a teenager. And so, man, he is a football guy beyond his years. I know how fundamental his approach to the game is. He coaches with a spirit geared toward the back end. He was a secondary player as a young guy. You see that in their video. He keeps those guys in good positions. He minimizes big plays. All the while, he's feeding those edge guys that provide the splash that the others ride. And so we got a lot to get ready for there.
It should be an outstanding game, Coach. Thanks. When we come back, we'll talk about the keys to this game coming up on Sunday. You'll see it live on KDKA. Coverage for us begins at 11:30 a.m. Kickoff at 1. Missy, back to you.
All right, sounds good, guys. And on Sunday, we can finally say home sweet home. Pittsburgh is 16-7 at Acrisure Stadium in home openers. And under Coach Tomlin, the team is 11-6. Coming up next, some X's and O's on the team's Week 3 opponent. Merrill Hodge breaks down what to look for on Sunday. Now it's time for a Yin's Chat predictive question. Will Alex Highsmith have over or under 1.5 sacks on Sunday? Head to the Steelers mobile app and answer for a chance to win a mini helmet autographed by number 56. Remember to play every week for a chance to win the season-long grand prize. The 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show will be right back.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Well, it's not just the same 2-0 record. The Chargers and Steelers have even more similarities. Neither team is asking their quarterback to do too much. Both teams like to be physical in the run game, and their defenses are making it difficult for the opponent to score points. So what should you expect from the Chargers on Sunday? Here's Merrill Hodge with this week's playbook.
Hi, everyone, and welcome into the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex for the Acrisure Playbook. All right, home opener. Chargers are coming to town. Steeler offense. We're going to stop the play right here, and we're going to go over the one problem initially. A guy named Khalil Mack, number 52, who is being blocked by 74, kind of. That right there is human abuse. I mean, that is a guy who plays with great leverage, great tempo, and he has a great instinct for the game. And this kind of guy can ruin your offense in a variety of ways. We have another concern, and it's now over to the left side of the formation, number 97. So we're going to focus at 97. How quickly he does this stunt, you can see the reaction by the offensive line is just absolutely too late. There'll be certain plays that have to be run in this game, and they will help neutralize those guys. Now, this is what we call run action. This initially looks like run. See the flow of this? Everything's going to the left. Even the defense is flowing to the left. Nobody's just going after the quarterback. So you somewhat paralyze the box. You freeze everybody right here, and look where the quarterback is. The quarterback already now gets great depth. So now you got a great pocket here. See, so this run action is awesome, and then you give an either or. You got an underneath route, and you got a deep route. So the quarterback, very simple read, and based on paralyzing the box and freezing people, you know, the tight end's gonna be wide open. So these run action, play action plays are extremely effective against great pass rushers like the Chargers have. All right, now let's take a look at the Chargers offense. You know, this really started week one. They did a lot of quick passing game. So what they got to be careful for as far as the Steeler defense goes is they're going to fool you into thinking it's a quick pass, but they throw in an explosive play. So I'll stop it right here. You know, all of the routes only look like they're about 5 yards. You got a flare route at the top, you know, and a little in route here at the bottom. But what they do here is they add a wrinkle. They add some deeper routes. They fool the defense. They pump it. And then they get their tight end on a seam route down the sideline. So they do throw explosive plays in there, but a lot of their stuff is quick passing game to protect their quarterback. Now, this particular play here is very interesting, and I think a lot of fans forget about this. Even players forget about it. It is great to attack the blitz via a run. Now, they bring the slot blitzer off the side here, but the Chargers are going to run the football. Their inside zone was actually one of their staples in their first part of the season, especially the first week. But this is a great way to attack a blitz. Now, the running back does a great job here, but the play call is outstanding because watch, the blitzer, he just can't react. He tries to, but he can't make the tackle. And from the end zone, you get a better feel of the effectiveness of a run versus blitz. We'll snap the ball, and we stop right here. Well, you see the defender. I mean, once he gets up the line of scrimmage, now the advantage is the running back. What he has to do, it's pivotal that he hugs the double team. So there's only one double team here. 75 and 79 are doubling. The back does a beautiful job of attacking that. So he goes there because he knows that's going to win. Once he does that, we call it pressing the hole. Now the unfree defender really can't get to him. I mean, he gets to him too late, but he can't really make the tackle. And extremely effective. So, you know, blitzing down in scoring territory does not mean that it's always going to be against the pass. Sometimes you're going to see run. You got to be prepared for that.
And you can find more of Merrill's playbooks and other exclusive content on the team's official YouTube page. Well, the Steelers finally get to stay at home while the Chargers are wrapping up a 10-day road trip. They'll be welcomed, or maybe not welcomed, by a black and gold crowd that's finally ready for some football in Pittsburgh. And for more on how the Steelers can move to 3-0, let's send it back to Bob and Coach for your keys to the game, presented by Neighborhood Ford Store.
Missy, thanks. We're talking to head coach Mike Tomlin about the fact that this team has decided to stay on the East Coast. You know, every team has choices like this. I imagine you have to petition the league. Strategically, what goes into that kind of decision? Have you ever been faced with that sort of decision?
It's probably more of a West Coast process than it is East Coast. You're traveling ahead when you're going west to east, and so it's more problematic for those guys. Your game time when you're going east to west. And so I've largely always been on the East Coast, and so it's been less of a discussion for the organizations that I've been a part of, but I'm definitely aware of the practice, and I know it happens quite a bit. Denver, our last week's opponent, for example, I think they're in Tampa this upcoming week, and I think they're staying out this way because I think they maybe go to New York next. And so it's more of a West Coast team function than it is a global thing.
All right, coming home, you're going to have the crowd going nuts. This is the first home game of the season. I would imagine the temptation for players is to make big plays. Strategically going into this, what do you have to do to continue what you've done in the first 2 games, even though it's at home versus a road?
You know, they play ball the way we play ball, meaning the LA Chargers and how they've engineered victory. They play good defense. They've taken the ball away. They've done a nice job of maintaining possession of the ball. They've controlled the time of possession via the ground game that's really teed up 3rd down possession wins. And so styles make fights, and there's going to be an intensity to this game, and really probably the team that breaks personality first is the team that's probably at a disadvantage. And so we got to beat the Steelers. We expect them to be the Chargers. But styles makes fights, as they say in the boxing world, and this will be an awesome fight.
All right, look forward to it. Should be an outstanding game, and you'll see it on KDKA TV coming up. It's the Chargers at 2-0 Steelers. First 2 games on the road. You know, that hasn't happened in a long time. Now, Steeler fans get a chance to see them up close, in person, at Acrisure Stadium. Look forward to that. Thank you for joining us here. For Missy Matthews and head coach Mike Tomlin, I'm Bob Pompeani. We'll see you next Saturday for another edition of the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.